Hi, folks, and welcome to another Sunday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and welcome to the summer. No one else is here, just me. But you know what? Summertime is here. Kids love to go out and play in summertime. They do different things. And it started getting me thinking, what were the things that I did as a kid? Now, I really wish Mikey could have been here because Mikey could have really contributed a lot to this. I know Benjamin could have as well, but again, our schedules just aren't meeting up right now. So, sad. Anyway, so I wanted to give my top 5. I believe this is in order. Checking it one more time. Yeah. I believe this is in order. What were the top 5 things that I did every year over the summer? And some of these are going to take some stories, my friend. But here we go. Number 5, water wars. What does that mean? Every year, back when I was a kid, growing up in Mississippi, we had something called water wars. This is back when there were only 3 super soakers in existence. And if you had one, your mom was rich. They loved you. They got you one. Usually you had tons of squirt guns. You know, if you had a cool one, it would look like a space gun. You had like little mini squirt guns. You kept those in your socks, which would leak and make your socks eventually wet. But you'd pull out your little pistol from your ankle when you ran out of your squirt pistols, and you were just shooting squirt guns at everyone. There was one kid who sat by the garden hose and would try to spray people who came near him. But the thing is, and you could use water balloons too to bash people. So the trick was to see if you could get him wet before he put the hose on you. But no one wanted to get hosed, so people stayed away, and that kid didn't get many people wet. You know, because people could see him coming. You know, you could see he was stationary. He couldn't hide. But you did try to get him wet because he was the coward, the neighborhood coward. And all the kids in the neighborhood came in. And, you know, if you could throw a water balloon and smack someone in the face with it, you were like, man, you were aces. Or hit him in the back or something. It was really great when it would bounce off them, though, right? You know, the water balloon just wasn't tight enough. And that may, or if you caught the ball, I mean, if you caught the water balloon, you were like, bomb, man. That was really awesome. I don't think that ever happened to me, but you freaked out if someone turned that weapon against you. And super soakers were available. I think only one kid had one, and that thing was shot a stream of water. And I was so pissed. I wanted a super soaker so bad. They only had 3 sizes back then, and my mom wasn't going to buy me any of them. But I was like, man, I think the 3rd size came with a strap over your shoulder. Oh, like a tank of water on top of it. Get out of here. But we would just fill up water guns in water buckets. Our parents would leave outside for us. I mean, all the parents there, this is great. Our kids are going to be outside all day. Yeah, we'll give you a bucket of water, you moron. Here's some squirt pistols. Go for it. And we just fight all around the little street we used to live on. And golly, I mean, if ever I go back, I want to do a live stream or a video of me going through my old town and showcasing it on YouTube to kind of tell you where all this stuff happened. No one would probably care about this but me, but I just think it'd be so awesome if that street could talk. And from the 80s, what all went on. We did tennis matches, like tennis. We draw out chalk, the boundary lines, and, you know, of course, just a line in the middle for the tennis net, and get out tennis rackets and play with tennis balls on there. And then if someone said, car, we'd pull over and let the car go through and then resume the game again. You know, we'd run down, we'd bite behind the guy with the thick bug spray, the mosquito spray that made big billowing clouds of smoke. We'd ride behind him for a block and a half. Yeah, that's not going to come back to haunt me when I'm 80. But anyway, that water wars is one of the many things we did on that street, and it was so much fun. All right, number 2 was baseball. I think everyone took baseball back in the day. Everyone did baseball, and baseball was a thing. I sucked at baseball. I gave my baseball stories before. I'll skip over them. But I love baseball. I played every year, and I sucked at it. That ball hit me more than I hit it. I was terrible at baseball. I'm happy to admit that. You know, not ashamed at all. I wish I was better, but I hear talent skips a generation. My dad was awesome at baseball. Our softball team, my dad was 60, 65. When he was, it was 60. I mean, how old is he now? Okay, yeah, he was 60 when we were playing softball still, and that dude was knocking home runs. He got most home runs on the team at 60. And we laughed at him because his knees weren't working very well. So we kidded that the only reason he hit home runs is because he couldn't run. In fact, he'd ask the umpire, can I just touch first base and then go in? And the umpire would go, sure. So my dad would kind of hobble to first base. And if he knocked the ball, like anyone could get, even me who wasn't the fastest could get a triple. But Dad, no, Dad just got a single. It was either a single or a home run for Dad. But he was great at it. I did talk about we played a hardball city league for like 2 years when it was in its short existence there. But another thing I did in the summer was we did something called backyard baseball. Backyard baseball, we had our own league. And it started off with 4 neighborhood teams. One was a team of kids that were younger than us because they wanted to play. And I said, okay, well, anyone, I can't remember what the age limit was. We were 10, 11, 12. So 7, 8, 9, we played them and we creamed them. So the kids would always have a team because there was a bunch of younger kids. They formed a team. The girls, the regular Girl Scouts, they formed a team because someone was a scoutmaster. Her mom was a scoutmaster. And so when the Girl Scouts came together, they said they'd play baseball with us. And so that was a girls' team. And then there was another neighborhood kids, just like 2 blocks down the road, who would form a team and they'd come play us. And it was just our little tournament. And then I think we did 86, 87, and 88. Those were the 3 years we did it. And I think in 86, we won, I want to say. In 87, the girls tricked me, and they kept delaying the game because we would all play each other. I set things up between the Girl Scouts and the little kids and the other group. Everyone got to play everyone. I had a whole matchup. Of course, we didn't have a schedule back then. I said, hey, can you do it next Saturday? And I tried to bring the 2 teams together if it wasn't my team playing. But we usually have two games going on back to back. We'd watch it or play and cheer for whoever and watch the games. We have special guests be umpires. And then it got to 6 teams because we had another group even farther out that heard about it, and they wanted to play with us. And then the adults wanted to form a group because they saw what was happening here, so we had an adults group. And then it went to 8 teams in 88, I remember, because I thought 8 for 88. Wow. And there were 2 adult teams at this point. Adult teams could only be like 6 or 5. They were half of what our team was. That was the rule. You couldn't have 9 adults out there. I think it was maybe 6 adults. I don't think they even had a catcher even. Maybe they did. I can't remember. But they used the backstop maybe. But either way, though, the adults had, 1 on each base, a pitcher. So that was like 4. Yeah, and 5, I think 1 in left, 1 in right that covered the outfield. I don't think they had a catcher. I think they only had 6, and that's what we limited them to. But the adults beat us. I think it was in 88. In 87, the girls beat us because it was just, we were the 2 best teams. And it's okay, we just play all of them, and then we'd see who won the most games. If there was a tie, that team would go to what we call the World Series. It's usually what there was ties. And the Girl Scouts had tied us, and I said, when do y'all want to play? And they named they kept pushing it back. And suddenly school had started. And I was like, girls, the summer's gone. Yeah, we were supposed to play baseball. And they went, well, the World Series isn't going on until now. They were doing the playoffs back in September. And I was like, well, true, but we're usually done by the summer. We don't play baseball this late. But they said, okay, we'll play it. And they picked a date. I was like, fine. But they wanted the specific date in October or whenever. But that was a big Mississippi State, I think that was the Mississippi State Ole Miss game. Maybe it was in November when this game was played. I can't remember. But either way, it was some big, 2 college teams were playing, and none of the kids came. And so we had very limited. I had to get some of the 7, 8, 9-year-olds to play with me, and our team sucked, and the girls won. And they did it on purpose. They realized, do it on this football date, because maybe the scoutmaster said that because she knew we could beat the girls. But, oh well. But backyard baseball, it continued for at least a couple of years after we left. And it was 8 teams strong, like no girls, no kids, and I don't think there were any more adult teams. When we went back like a year or 2, they were still playing backyard baseball, but we didn't know all the teams, but whoever took it over said, yeah. He said, we stopped, the Girl Scouts aren't in anymore. He said, we got rid of the kids because they were too easy to beat. And I was like, well, yeah, that was the whole point of getting a simple win. And then they said there were no more adult teams, but they have 8 teams now. And I was thinking, wow. I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's growing. And that's just because more kids around the neighborhood were getting onto it, and they were splitting off in a team. One kid two blocks away, would tell the kids that were 3 blocks away, and then 4 blocks, and they just bike to different people's backyards and play. I doubt they still do that today. To this day, that tradition keeps on. No, probably died in the early 90s is what I'm guessing. But the backyard baseball, man, was a thing for me growing up. Now, I should mention this one that maybe I want to mention this. This is maybe an honorable mention, but obviously vacations is what we did in the summertime. But I thought that would be like more of a different, I want to do a different top 5. Top 5 memorable vacation moments, because there were some good ones for me, and I'm thinking about saving that for another time. So vacations will not be spoken about on this podcast. Hopefully next time when Benjamin or Mikey can come over, we'll do top 5 vacation memories as kids, because I definitely want to do that. I've got some doozies there. But I'm not going to be talking about vacations right now. I want to move on to another one that I want to say, I've talked about this before, I just don't know when, but summer camp. I don't know if Benjamin or Mikey ever went to summer camp before. It was a big deal for us. It was a big fun deal for us. I always enjoyed summer camp. The first one we went to was in the mountains of Tennessee, I want to say, and it was great. But that was also their last, I can't remember what year that was. That was early 90, it was 1990 maybe. And I was like, wow, this is just great. My dad had taken us. We were a little too young, I think. Maybe we were just right to be there. I can't remember. But the next year, 91, it was at the beach. And we're like, oh my gosh. And we went 91, 92, and 93, I remember. And those years were awesome. 93 especially, because you got shirts and everything. It was so much fun being on the beach. That was also the year 93, or one of those years. No. This is... I don't remember. But Bruce was there. So I first met Bruce, but that's impossible. We weren't roommates back then. I must have gone back in college, because when Bruce and I were in college, I remember we went to some other place, and we went back. This is in the late 90s, and Highlander was playing on TV. And when we were assigned our beds, they didn't have mattresses. It was just a bunch of box springs, just a bunch of springs, just nothing. And I was like, where's our mattresses? And so they tried to locate mattresses for us, and we were in the hallway. They were just throwing beds everywhere just to put kids somewhere. And we were in a hallway right by the door. I mean, it was the worst place. Like when you open the door, you walk through the hallway to get to the rooms. That's where they just set up like 4 bunk beds on either side of that hallway. And the doors just kept opening and closing all day long. You never had any privacy. You couldn't dress because you were right in the front door. And I was thinking, wow, these are hideously terrible rooms. I do not want this place. And, dude, I could do top 5 memories. I'll talk about this one. a little bit, since it is my big number 2. I remember the first year I went to this place on the beach, I was in high school. I was carrying around my wallet everywhere, and that was when my dad realized I had $1,000 in my wallet, because my dad asked for some money, and I just dug into my wallet. He went, how much cash do you have there? I said, 1,000, and I was really proud of it. And he goes, you brought $1,000 cash? My dad's like, so I was like, what's he mad about? And then he took it from me to hide it and stuff like that. He didn't realize I had that much cash on me, but I kept it in my wallet, saved up, saved my money. And I do have tons of good memories in high school. I believe I mentioned this one before, sports memories. I got beat by high school girls that I did not know played basketball, and they embarrassed us on the field, rightfully so, because I was very arrogant. And then... that kind of went around campus, but I had to defend myself for 2 extra games to win them back. And I played really hard and rough, and, it was sad. I shouldn't have been so mean, but I got my pride hurt. And then I started playing heavy on those girls and whooped them. But bravo to them. They outsmarted us and everything, and they deserved the win. In fact, I used to be friends with 2 of them for the longest, for years I was. And now I've lost touch with them. I mean, I'm not on social media. If I was, maybe I would have found them again. And they were both sweet girls. And they looked back on those times and laughed. This is well past my college days. So they were very friendly, and I do miss seeing them and whatnot. But it was smart. It was smart. I probably still have those pictures somewhere in some of my photo albums. I probably still have the pictures of me. But either way, when we went for college and we had those terrible rooms, Bruce, I remember, was with me and a few others, and we complained. Well, they didn't have a place for us because they didn't have any other rooms. Well, someone said, hey, give them one of they were going to have the, what they're called, the adults. They're called camp counselors. So they said, give them one of the counselor rooms. We'll just double up some counselors, because there's plenty of room in we'll just let them live in a counselor room. Dude, counselor room was great. You had your own room, your own private bath. There were the air conditioning problems. It was always muggy in the rooms, in the dorm rooms, because there's a billion people in there. So it was nice and cool at night. We had nice beds, not the little bump bed springs with a simple mattress. They were super nice, double queen size bump bed. I mean, queen size beds, not bump beds. Queen size bump bed, that'd be awesome. But queen size beds, and we had a TV with cable. With cable, we were freaking out. We had our own fridge and everything. We'd order pizza. I remember we ordered pizza one night, had it delivered, and then put the rest in the fridge. And I mean, we went shopping, put stuff in the fridge and stuff. I mean, we were just like living high off the hog. And we did not miss Highlander that week. Highlander came out every week, and so we got to watch the newest Highlander show right then and there. We were going to record it on a VCR back when you had to set your VCR to the day and time. But we said, hey, we can watch it live. So we just went home, early, and went and watched Highlander. And we'd be watching TV, inviting people over to watch TV in our dorm or little room. And that was so much fun. So much fun. Other camp memories. After the beach, for a little while, my parents were like, nah, you're not doing the beach no more, dude. And they took us out to someplace in Texas. And man, I was only out there for 2 years until they moved us out to Virginia for many, many years. I have many memories in Virginia, but for those 2 years in Texas, at first I was so upset because it was called RYM, and Reform Youth Movement, and it was on the beach. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. But my dad wasn't digging it anymore, and he wanted us to go somewhere else. And this place in Texas was supposedly, the story goes, that someone got a flyer in the mail, threw it in the trash can, and then later on dug it out of the trash can and said, oh, wait, the kids can go here. He'd thrown it away because he thought, well, I don't want them going to that camp. But when he found out we weren't going to the other summer camp, this adult went back to his trash can and dug it. That's what his girls told me. He dug it back out of his trash and presented it like, hey, this is what we've wanted them to go to. And it was like some Baptist thing. I can't remember. I loved it. I actually had a really fun time. I didn't think I would, but ended up having a blast. Met some really awesome people that I really miss. There's one that, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to email him. It's been a couple of years. I think it's been since 2019, so I emailed him. So I should email him again. I still talk to one of the counselors to this day because I know who he is. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send him another email right now. I'm going to do that after I'm done. And just tell him what's up because I mentioned him. And I miss him. He was a good guy. And he always had a blue bouncy ball. Now, it just happened to be blue. He always carried a bouncy ball with him, and he'd bounce it up against the wall while he was talking outside to anyone. He would bounce the rubber ball or bounce it against the wall and talk to people and talk to the kids and whatnot. And I just thought he was the coolest guy ever. And since it was blue, I went all out to find blue bouncy balls. I want to be just like him. I used to carry a bouncy ball in my pocket at all times and would bounce it just like he did. Because I was just heavily enamored with this gentleman. And I remember he said, well, Matt, the bouncy ball's not blue anymore. It's red. I had to get a new one because that one kind of busted up. And I was thinking, why would you get a different color but blue? And then I realized it's not the color. It's just the bounce. He just like had a bouncy ball with him. And I still have some bouncy balls, I think, somewhere. One of my little keepsakes. I still have one of my original blue bouncy ball and probably a few others. But yeah, man, the bouncy ball. Yeah, I loved it. He was really cool. But I had tons of good memories. Like I said, there was some guy who was just banging on people's doors, waking them up in the morning. He was like the hall monitor. And I said, next time he does, I'm going to hit him with a squirt gun. And I just chased him down the hallway with a squirt gun. He was screaming. And I could hear people going, get him, Matt, get him. Because they all knew that I just told the whole hall what I was doing. That was a lot of fun. And like I said, good memories. Didn't want to leave. Was pissed when they said, oh, now we're taking you somewhere else. And this is all through high school. And I was like, I don't want to go anywhere else. But then, of course, Virginia, whoa, good fun. I don't really keep up with that many people from that conference anymore. I mean, very few, very little. I do miss those days, and those are probably some of my favorite times ever. That's why this is number 2. You're thinking, Matt, why isn't this number 1 since you're talking about so many good summer camp memories? I'll tell you what number 1 was, but in a minute. But summer camp was just so special for me. I think I mentioned this too. I was a practical joker, but I made sure everything was pre-approved. I did goofy videos. I'd check with security before I do the video. Sometimes security would be in my video. Like I pretended to kick security out of a golf cart and drive away. And the security guard was so fake with their acting, you knew it wasn't real. But as rumors go, because I'd send out this VHS tape in the mail, I'd splice it up and send it out to people. This is back before YouTube. You'd get a VHS from me talking about the highlights of the show summer camp, and I just show my favorite clips, some funny things. I did music. I don't know how I overlaid music over it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember how I did that. But I was quick with like the dual VCR, and I could put sound in it and stuff. And I knew all this low grade tech tricks here, because I don't know how I got music in there, but I remember I'd always put music and put a montage of scenes toward the end. And I'd do a bookend. I'd say, hello, folks, welcome. Well, 95 was a great year for us, or 96. Hey, 97's down, and we're still doing good, And I remember exactly when I gave the announcement of when I remember exactly, I was at a park here in town. I crossed this bridge, and I was talking to them about the year in general. And then after it was over, I was like, oh, look at that. I said, I've reached the end of my bridge. And that's when I shocked everyone and said, I'm done. I'm not coming back anymore. And everyone's like, what, were you not coming back? Yeah, because I was graduating college. You were still allowed to go if you wanted to, as long as you paid the fee and you adhered to the rules. But I decided, no, I'm out of college now. I got to put this away. And it was the hardest thing in the world to skip out. I remember where I was when summer camp was going on, and I knew it was the grown-up thing to do, and I knew I couldn't go back. But every day just killed. And when they called me, I think someone called me long distance to tell me they missed me and everything. A few of them called me, and I was just bleeding over it. And people were just so in tears that I wasn't going to be there, because I was usually the guy that made the videos and everything. And but I did those videos for years. Had a great time doing them. It was so much fun. We'd play an annual baseball game. I'd show highlights from the baseball game and stuff. And I mean, oh gosh, we used to do the top 10 hottest women and hottest girls at the summer camp, which became a scandal after a while, because how dare the boys grade women on their looks. But we always did it. And there was a different girl that won every year. It was so weird that the same girl never won back-to-back years. And sometimes the same girl would be back. There was one girl she won the first year and didn't win again, would place in the top 10, but never won again. And she thought it was funny because she was kind of a smart kid. She wasn't, she was nerdy cute, but she always thought that was weird that she had won one year and then kept placing in the top 10. I think she was kind of happy that she was placed in the top 10, but I wanted to get to number 1. She was always my favorite. Well, not always. I did votes for some other number 1s back in the day, but I remember that was a big scandal. How dare Matt do that? And I was like, oh, screw you. We're just having fun. Because I'd pass around, I'd give the names, and I'd say, you put a checkbox by the girl you thought was the hottest, and I'd just pass around during our lecture. And you'd skip over the girls and give it to the boys, and the boys would mark it. The girls would try to peek and see if their name was on it. But the boys would go to mark, and then I'd add up all the marks after it was over. Or I'd do email. After it was over, I'd email everyone and get their responses back and get their votes. Or I just go and poll people. I remember one year I just polled everyone. We went up to as many people as I could to give me their hottest women. So that was the thing we did back then. We played intramural volleyball. Eventually, no, the big baseball game was always there, but We played intramural volleyball, had volleyball teams. That was some fun stories I could tell you. I remember losing both volleyball and basketball on the same day to the same letter. There were so many teams, they gave us letters in the alphabet. It was the letter Q. And on volleyball, they beat us bad. But then I went to play basketball right after that. They didn't show up. And so after 10 minutes, it's forfeit because you have to get the next game going on because every 30 minutes was a game. Well, after 10 minutes, they showed up. And they said, do you want to play? And I told my team, no. I said, do we have to play them? He said, no, because he said they had to forfeit. He said, but if you want to play them, we'll give you a 20-minute game to go half of the point spread. And my team was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's show them we can beat them. I was like, guys, no, trust me. Let's get the win and move on. I was like, I don't want to take a chance. I want to move. We were in the quarterfinals. I was like, no, I want to make it to the semifinal. I want to get, we're even closer. Come on. But they said, no, dude, we can beat this team. Come on, let's show them we can beat them. And we got whooped. I was like, ugh. So I was trying to keep my dream alive any way I could, but it didn't work out. I'm trying to think of what other summer camp members. Oh, I remember when I became a counselor. I came back like 3 years later or something because I was really I didn't know what to do. And I was telling my dad I kind of missed summer camp. He's like, well, go. You could probably be a counselor this year. So I reached out to the guy, the head counselor, said, sure, we'd love to have you. And I was counselor. A bunch of other counselors were not happy because they knew I was a practical joker. But I played safe jokes. But at the time, and I remember his name was Byron Snap, was the head counselor. Byron Snap. I remember that now. And he came up to me, Mr. Snap came up to me and said, the reason you're here, the jokes have gotten kind of elaborate and they've gotten out of hand. And they're kind of damaging public property, campus property. The security is getting mad and they're talking about this being our last year if we don't put a tail on it. He said, I'm under the impression that you were their inspiration. They heard about all these stories, and he told me some of the stories. Like, hey, whoa, I got approval for that. He went, no, I know you got approval for those. I've seen your videos. I didn't know he'd seen the video. I did not send him a video, but someone must have shown it to him. He said, I know they're all done in jest and all in good humor. He said, but people have kind of taken that, and what you've done is kind of become a legend now, and they've kind of just like a tall tale, and now they've kind of exaggerated. And sure enough, I had a legendary status with a bunch of kids there when I was back because they were like, oh, here's the true prankster. And he said, I'm just going to tell you, this year, I bet those kids are going to come brag to you. He said, I want you to turn them in. I was like, I'm no rat. I'm no rat for anyone. You hear me, Snap? I don't rat anyone out. And I didn't say that. I was too scared. I was like, okay. But I was like, I'm not going to rat anyone out. Well, then when I started hearing some of the pranks they did, like tying the doors together down the hallway, which I thought was really smart because no one could get out. But that's a fire hazard, right? If there's a fire, then no one can get out of their rooms and they would all die. And I was old enough to realize, yeah, that's probably not the best idea. And then they took a dump on the elevator. Someone just squatted, took a dump. Yeah, funny, but just childish. And you don't do that. That's nasty. And so some of the jokes, I was thinking, yeah, this is kind of crass. This is kind of out there. And but when the rope thing happened, Byron goes, this is it. Watch. He said, I'm going to make a joke about the rope and then watch. I'm not going to say what happened, but they're going to come brag to you. And he told me what happened. And he said, hey, we have some lost and found items here. And he did all the lost and found items. He went, we also have this rope. It's a long rope. You can tie a bunch of things together with it. No one's? Okay. But that was to mean, we found your prank from the other night. Well, I thought that's not going to work. No one come up to me to brag about doing the dirty stuff. And then that night, sure enough, these kids came up and told me that they had done all of it. Wasn't I proud of them? I was like, you guys are morons. You guys are idiots. I said, he knows about y'all. He's finding out about y'all. And they said, really? What? No. Who told? I said, I don't know, but someone narked on you guys. I said, so you better call your mothers and parents to tell them you're not coming back. And of course, they hadn't been narked on yet. I was the narc. I didn't want to be called the narc. And so I felt bad, but I told him that someone had already told him. And so afterwards, I went straight to him. I said, I know who it is. And I pointed out their names, and they got expelled permanently from it. I felt terrible, but they were like, well, I remember them emailing me later on. I was like, do you know who the name was? We're trying to figure out who it was. We've got down to these two people. I said, I wasn't told a name. I just know that someone went to him and told him. That's all I know. That's what I just deny, that I was the big narc there. But summer camp memories, great. My number 2. Number 1, this is easy, outside, just being outside. Anyone who is a child of the 80s and 90s or 70s even, you know what I mean. Back in the summer, we stayed outside all day. What did we do? I have no earthly idea. We rode bikes. We played G.I. Joe in the dirt. We played all this fun stuff, but we stayed outside. The only time I came inside was to eat a ham and cheese sandwich from my mom and then bolted back out the door. I mean, I did not want to stay in on a Monday through Friday. You know, Saturday mornings were cartoons, so yeah, you stay in for that. But other than that, it's summertime, baby. You spend every waking moment you can outside, unless it is raining. Then you'd stay inside and be bored and sad. But man, being outside was the best, and so many adventures, so many, nothing funny to tell about. I mean, I'm sure if I thought about it, I'd think of funny tales. But overall, man, just being outside and having great times outside with all my friends, that is the number one memory for me over the summer. Hey, folks, let me know in the comments below what were the top 5 things you did as a kid for the summer. And then, hey, you know what? I think vacations is the one I'm going to do next. So I will see you next week with top 5 vacation moments on Saturday morning Samoflange.